Urban legends usually start the same way. A whispered warning, a cautionary tale, a rule you're supposed to follow without ever asking why. Don't go into the woods at night. Don't look in the mirror and call a name. Don't stop for the crying baby on the side of the road. The counting man belongs to that category. It spreads in fragments. Old message boards, lost blogs, anonymous confessions, enough to form a pattern, but never enough to give answers. The rule itself is simple. If you're walking alone and you hear footsteps behind you that match your own and a voice begins to count, don't turn around. That's it. That's the warning. The voice always starts at 1. Low, deliberate, almost conversational. Each night it continues one number higher than before. 2, 3, 4. The timing is always the same. After dark, when you're alone and the footsteps never break rhythm, there are 2 known outcomes. If you break the rules, if you turn around, it's over instantly. There are no accounts testifying that someone has done this, so it's safe to assume the worst. If you don't turn, the count goes on. Each night it climbs higher, step by step, pulling you toward the number 10. And that's the part no one can fully describe. No account ever survives past 10. Whatever happens when the counting man finishes counting, it doesn't leave anyone behind to explain it. What we're left with are fragments, posts on forgotten forums, transcripts from police reports, journal entries abandoned halfway through, all describing the same phenomenon. Same footsteps, same voice. Taken together, they don't look like folklore. They look like case studies. One of the earliest online references to the counting man comes from 2009 on a now-defunct college forum archived by the Wayback Machine. The user went by Descartes42, a sophomore, 19, posting in a humor thread about campus pranks. His first post was light-hearted. Someone's messing with me, walking home from the library last night. Heard footsteps behind me. Thought it was a friend. Looked around, nobody there. Then swear to God. Heard one like someone whispered it in my ear. Funniest crap I've ever seen. Whoever's pulling this, you got me. Other users teased him. Told him it was an echo or campus security playing games. The next night he posted again. It happened again. Different street, different time. Steps right behind me, keeping pace. This time it said 2. Same voice, same tone. I'm not kidding. This isn't funny anymore. The replies grew sharper. People accused them of trolling, of building an ARG. But the patterns continued. Each post a new number. 3. Outside my dorm window this time. I didn't even leave the building. 4. I tried blasting music on my headphones. Still heard it louder. 5. I tried hiding. Didn't help. The thread is long. Over 60 replies, most of them mocking, but a few start to show concern as his tone shifts from joking to frantic. By 7, his posts are shorter, almost clipped. I'm not sleeping. Every time it comes, there's one more. It waits until I'm alone. Please tell me someone else has heard this. No one had, or at least no one admitted to it. His last entry dated October 14th, 2009 reads, 9 right outside my door this time. I don't think I can keep this up. And that's where it ends. The account went silent. His email went dark. A roommate later posted that Descartes42 had dropped out suddenly and left campus, though no records of a transfer exists. It's worth noting the IP logs from his account show he made the last post from inside his dorm room. Not on the street, not walking home, inside alone at his desk, which suggests the counting man doesn't need you outside in the dark to follow you. Once he starts counting, it goes wherever you go. Cases like Descartes 42s are usually written off as the product of stress. College kids pulling all-nighters, walking home tired. The mind can play tricks when it's short on sleep. Some psychologists argue it's a form of auditory pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find patterns where none exist. The footsteps you think you hear, the whispered one that isn't really there. But there's a problem with that explanation. The posts don't exist in isolation. Dig deep enough and you'll find fragments of the same story scattered across obscure forums and forgotten threads. A Usenet post from the late 90s mentioning the man who counts. A survivalist board warning not to let it get to 10. A chain email from the early 2000s describing footsteps that match perfectly night after night. The details line up too neatly to be dismissed as coincidence. Always the same pattern, footsteps in sync, a man's voice counting one number per night. The rule, don't turn around, and silence after 10. Folklore doesn't usually cross mediums this way. It doesn't survive from email forwards to Reddit threads to Discord servers unless there's something feeding it. And that's where the unease comes in. Because if these stories aren't random, if they're connected, then it means the counting man isn't just a legend, it's a phenomenon. The following detailed account, dated 2016, buried in a series of scan notebook pages, uploaded to an image board. The files were titled simply Commuter Journal. The handwriting belongs to a woman in her mid-30s, judging by the context, who describes herself as a night shift worker taking buses home after midnight. The first entry picks up at 5. It's been going for almost a week now, always when I leave work and when I walk to the bus stop. Footsteps behind me, perfectly timed, the voice counting. Last night was 4, tonight was 5. I don't know what happens when it reaches 10:00, but I'm starting to believe the people online. She admits to trying to test the rules, putting in earbuds, taking different routes, pausing to see if the steps would pause too. They always did. By 7, her tone shifts. It's getting closer. I feel breath on my neck, but I won't turn. I can't. I tried to use the bus window as a mirror just to check. Thought maybe if I looked that way, it wouldn't count as turning around. I don't know if it was a mistake. I saw my reflection mouthing the number 7. My lips weren't moving. The next entries are increasingly frantic. She describes covering mirrors in her apartment, refusing to glance at the black surface of her phone when it's off. But reflections aren't the problem. The footsteps never stop. Her last entry is dated February 3rd, 2016. By 9, the pages are shaky, smudged. It's with me everywhere, not just on the street anymore. In the break room, in the stairwell, in the bus aisle. I hear it even when there's no room for anyone to be walking behind me. Nobody reacts. No one else hears it. I'm not safe anywhere. The scans end there. A curious detail. Users on the forum cross-reference the bus route times against the city's open transit records. She stopped tagging into the system after that date. No last trip, no exit scan, no ride logged under a card again. She didn't just vanish from the bus, she vanished on it. Which raises a disturbing question. If turning around means you die and reaching 10 means you disappear, which fate is worse? It's easy to think the counting man might be tied to a city block or state, a place you could avoid. But the accounts don't agree with that. Reports come from everywhere, quiet suburbs, isolated country highways. It isn't the location that matters, it's the person. Once the counting starts, it follows you across neighborhoods, across state lines, even across oceans. If some of the scattered forum posts are to be believed, the common thread isn't where people hear it, is that they all describe the same rules, the same footsteps, the same voice that suggests the counting man isn't a haunting or a cursed road or even a local legend. It's a phenomenon, portable, persistent, personal. And if it attaches to a person instead of a place, then running may not save you. Among the scattered accounts, one of the most cited is a Reddit thread from 2014. The user went by ground level. He described the first few nights much like everyone else. The footsteps, the voice, the steady climb of numbers. By 4, he admitted he was already panicking, but unlike most cases, he tried something different. I ran full sprint, no rhythm, just chaos. The footsteps behind me stumbled, the voice stopped, and when he came back the next night, it was back to 1. I think I broke it. His post drew immediate attention. Dozens of commenters asked for details. Was it a trick, a glitch in whatever this thing was? Could you reset the sequence just by running? For a while, his updates gave people hope. Second night after running, it worked back to 1. If I keep this up, maybe I could hold it off forever. But a week later, the tone shifted. It's different now. Even though it reset to 1, it doesn't sound the same. Louder, closer. I feel it breathing harder. And the steps don't stumble when I run anymore. They keep pace. By the next reset, the escalation was apparent. The voice grew increasingly distorted, deepening with each passing moment. The footsteps struck harder like boots on concrete, even when he was indoors. His final reset brought him back to 1 again, but with a consequence he hadn't expected. It's behind me all the time now, not just at night. Grocery store, elevator, bathroom. I don't know how much longer I can handle this. Other users begged him to stop running, to just let it play out rather than making it worse. But his posts kept coming, shorter, more frantic, louder than before. Walls shake, my ears are bleeding. I can't reset it this time. His account went silent immediately after. A cross-check of his profile shows he'd been an active user for years. After that final post, nothing. No comments, no login, no activity at all. What stands out about his case is the pattern. The reset didn't save him, it only made things worse. The numbers always start over, but the intensity doesn't. It builds layer on layer, and that suggests the counting man isn't just tallying nights, he's tallying you. Which leaves the question, is it better to let the count finish, or to run and make what comes after even worse? It's tempting to think of the counting man as a digital age creation, a creepypasta that spread across forums and message boards, dressed up with the same ritualistic rules we've seen in hundreds of other urban legends, but the pattern didn't start online. The earliest traceable reference appears in an Ohio newspaper from 1891. The article is grainy, barely legible, preserved only through a university microfilm scan. It reports on a farmer's family outside Killick who complained of phantom footsteps circling their porch every night for 9 days. Neighbors dismissed it as coyotes saw trespassers. On the 10th night, the family vanished. The sheriff's deputy who arrived the next morning found the dinner table still set, plates half-eaten, bread torn mid-bite. No signs of struggle, just silence and empty chairs. Go back further, and the fragments grow stranger. In a sailor's diary from 1743, recovered from a wreck in the North Sea, one entry stands out. On the 7th night, he spoke 7, that no man was behind me. I must not turn, the crew begs me, they do not hear it as I do. The diary ends there. The next pages are ruined by theater. No mention of storms, mutiny, or shipwreck, just an abrupt stop, as if the account itself had no chance to continue. Other records exist in scattered folklore collections, including a Bavarian folklore about the Zella, the counter who walks behind men on empty roads, and a letter from a missionary in the 1600 describing an invisible step-matcher that tormented converts at night. Are these hoaxes, folklore bent to fit a modern internet story? Maybe. Historical anomalies are prone to misinterpretation, especially when a pattern has already been suggested. But the consistency is hard to ignore. The details don't shift the way most legends do. The same progression appears again and again. Footsteps in sync, a man's voice rising one each night, the climb toward 10, different cultures, different languages, different centuries, the same rules. These records can't be verified. Of course, we can't know if the farmer's family simply fled or if the sailor's diary was fabricated. The similarities are too precise to dismiss as coincidence. The counting man didn't begin with the internet. He didn't begin with stories whispered on message boards or shared through chain emails. The implication is darker. The counting man predates the internet, predates cities, predates memory itself. He has always been behind us. Suppose the historical record shows the counting man isn't confined to the internet age. In that case, modern reports prove something stranger. Still, he isn't confined to any one region. Threads from Brazil describe Cucont, always in Portuguese, always the same phrasing, footsteps, a man's voice, the steady rise toward 10. A Japanese forum in 2007 called him Kazeu Otto, the counting man, with the same warning not to turn around. South African blogs mentioned Montu Kabbalah, and posts from Eastern Europe repeat the same detail. One number each night whispered at your back. Different languages, different continents, the same ritual unchanged. That isn't how folklore usually works. As a rule, urban legends mutate when they travel. The hitchhiker ghost is American. In Japan, she becomes the slit-mouthed woman. In Mexico, she is known as La Llorona. The details shift, molded by culture and language. Endings change. Villains take on local masks. Rules bend. That's what keeps folklore alive. It adapts. The counting man doesn't. Everywhere he appears, the pattern remains the same. No local embellishments, no regional variations, just the same rules repeated with unnerving precision. Footsteps that match your own, a voice counting one number per night. Don't turn, don't reach 10. The consistency suggests the phenomenon isn't cultural at all. It doesn't spread like rumor or myth. It doesn't evolve. It replicates exactly, which leaves us with two unsettling possibilities. Either every culture spontaneously invented the same story with the same rules, the same outcome, which is almost impossible, or the counting man isn't a story at all, is a constant, something real enough to appear the same way to anyone, anywhere, regardless of language or culture. And if that's true, there's one more question worth asking. Why is the pattern surfacing more frequently? Now, there's one final pattern worth mentioning, though it's easy to miss if you're only reading individual accounts. In nearly every case, the victim heard about the counting man before they heard the footsteps. The college student in 2009 admitted he'd read a stupid email about a man who counts before his first encounter. The commuter's journal included a line, "I thought this was just another internet ghost story. Then I started hearing it myself." Even the so-called survivor who tried to reset the rhythm wrote in one of his earliest posts, "Maybe I shouldn't have read that thread." Maybe that's what started it. And this detail isn't unique to the internet era. The Ohio farmer's family in 1008, 191. The newspaper clipping notes that neighbors have been joking about a local phantom counter before the footsteps began. The sailor's diary from 1743 refers to a tale told by Dark Hands the night before he first recorded the voice. It happens again and again. Awareness comes first, then the footsteps, then the count. That suggests the counting man doesn't hunt randomly. He doesn't linger on roadsides waiting for strangers. He comes when you know the rules. In other words, knowledge itself is the trigger. That would explain the consistency across centuries and cultures. The story doesn't mutate because it doesn't need to. Every version is the same because it isn't folklore spreading. It's contagion. Each account isn't a warning. It's an infection vector. The more detail you read, the more precise the rules become in your head. The closer you are to hearing that first step fall in sync with your own, which reframes everything we've looked at. The vanished accounts, the broken journals, the posts that stop mid-sentence. Maybe they didn't end because the victims disappeared. Perhaps they ended because by writing them down and passing on the rules, they were ensuring the cycle would continue in someone else. And perhaps that's why the stories always stop before 10. Not because they have nothing left to say, but because by the time you know enough to ask what happens next, the footsteps have already begun behind you.